Sportscast, July 26, 2019. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Periscope, iTunes. And if you're in iTunes, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. And visit us on thesportscast.net, thesportscast.net. Shane Lowry, Northern Irish golf player, has won the Open Championship 2019. It wasn't a spectacular Open Championship, but it was great to see the players on the course and seeing like the great golf courses in up in the UK. And of course, we got Ty Turner, our golf correspondent. Welcome back to the Sportscast.
What's up, dude? How you doing?
Good. So Shane Lowry, pretty much like everyone said like the tournament was over by Saturday. What were your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like I was talking to you off air. It was not like it was not. I mean, okay. First of all, congrats to Shane Lowry. He played amazing. You know, first years it's been in Ireland for a long time, and he won it, and he played great, and he easily won it, and he was a leader pretty much the last 3 days. So, congrats to Shane Lowry. Let's just tap the hat to him. He did an amazing job. Now, to what I'm going to say it was not as because for one, it was not a big name. Two, it was not very competitive, especially the last couple of days. It was probably the least eventful of the four majors. Meaning, well, I mean, like the PGA Championship actually, Brooks Koepka led all 4 days. So that was not. But then it got interesting that last day because Koepka, the weather got bad. Koepka didn't shoot very well on the last day. Dustin Johnson played very well. He got within a stroke. So there was more. What's the word I'm looking for? Suspense. There you go. Fairly, I got to think. There was more suspense to the PGA Championship than even the Open because, I mean, he just led, like from the second into the third, and especially by the fourth day, he was so far ahead. You kind of knew that unless he just completely just fell apart and was just awful, there was no way that anyone was going to catch him, and no one did.
Yeah, Lowry actually last year, he missed the cut last year to participate in the British Open.
You mean he didn't play in the Open, or he missed the cut after 2 days?
He missed the cut for the fourth straight year a year ago. That's what it says here.
I think that means so he made the British Open, but like Tiger Woods missed the cut, and Rory McIlroy.
Oh, okay.
Meaning after 2 days, if your score's not high enough, you don't go on to third and fourth day. So that's probably what it meant.
Speaking about Tiger, how did Tiger do?
Well, do you know how he did? Or are you just asking this?
I heard, but I want to hear your point of view.
Terrible. I mean, he was got 7 over the first day, and second day he was okay, but he wasn't even close to making the cut. Tiger Woods, had the memorable Masters. He was just amazing. But let's be honest, the last 3, missing the cut at PGA, missing the cut at the Open, and finishing outside the top 20 in the U.S. Open, Tiger just wasn't competitive at all in the other 3 majors. I mean, he wasn't a factor whatsoever. So hopefully, he just rests up, gets back. The one thing I did like was in the interview, someone asked him about his health and like comparing it to a few years ago, and he immediately was like, no. He's like, it's not even the same. He's like, my health is not on that. Like meaning his health was better. He basically said he just is not playing well. And I honestly think that was the case. He did look like his back was bothering him a little bit the first day, but I think as a whole, putting all that in to come back and win the Masters, I just think he had a letdown. He didn't play in between tournaments. They're every month, like normally they're more spread out, the majors, but now it's like literally April, May, June, July. And I just think, he didn't play those in between tournaments. I think he lost that edge he had in his peak performance. And they're the toughest. I mean, the majors are the toughest courses to play. All the majors are the toughest courses. So when you are off your peak, you're not really, you get a little rusty because you didn't play in between tournaments, the smaller tournaments. And then all of a sudden you're playing in the majors. I just think his game was off. So I don't think it was injuries. So that's good. And I think what Tiger's probably going to do more than anything, if for one, I think he's really going to try to win the Masters from now on over the next 5 years. I think he plays about 5 years. I think he's really going to go for the Masters to win it. I think that's really where he's going to try to peak. And then if he doesn't peak there, I think he's going to. I don't know what he's going to strategy, but I think a tournament actually like the Open would be another one he could pick off. Maybe because it tends to be not as much of a long course. You just have to be very accurate with your shots, very good with your iron shots. Obviously, he's one of the best iron players in golf history, maybe the best irons player. So I think he's going to try to pick off maybe an Open here and really try to knock in another Masters. And I think that's where his final majors throughout his career will come from. Just trying to pick off a major every year, 2, 3. And I think that's kind of his strategy now.
And the Masters is only held in May, correct?
Yep. No, April.
April. Okay, so it's once a year.
Yep.
Shane Lowry closed with a 1/72, the first time since the 1996 Open champion was over par in the final round, and it was no less impressive. More difficult than the rain was wind strong enough to break an umbrella. Shane was able to make 4 bogeys in the toughest stretch of Royal Portrush without losing ground. No one from the 12 last groups broke par. No one got closer than the 3 shots of Lowry all day. So he was leading along the way. I'll read you the standings. First place came Lowry, then Fleetwood. I like Fleetwood, by the way.
Good player. Yep.
Good player. Number 3, you could probably help me out with this one, Finau?
Oh, it's Tony Finau.
Yeah, Finau finished in 3rd, then Koepka, Westwood, McIntyre, Fowler, Willett, Hatton, Reed. How did Koepka do?
I mean, he had a great year. He had 5 top 5 finishes. He was a winner at PGA, runner-up at both the U.S. Open and Masters, and he finished, I think it was 4th at the Open. So he had a great year. He was the best player throughout all the majors. He only won 1, but he was definitely the best player.
Yeah,
and the same for last year too. So he's been the best major golfer. He's been the best golfer in all the majors for the last couple of years.
Obviously, we did pick Sergio Garcia to win it, but he did not finish in the top.
Make a cut.
I know.
No, he didn't.
Ron did. Yeah. So when is the next big golf tournament after this one?
I mean, this week they're playing like the WGC Bridgestone Invitational, and then there's I can't think of the what is the other one? The one Tiger won last year, which is the last one, the FedEx Cup. Then they have the accumulation to the FedEx Cup champion. I can't think of all of them. I mean, there's no other majors. There's some good golf tournaments, but they're all part of the men's PGA. But there's no significant majors.
Big. So. Yeah, in August, the Wyndham Championship, the Northern Trust, BMW Championship, and the Tour Championship.
Northern Trust is solid. Yeah. So BMW is always good, and the Northern Trust is always good. So there's some good ones, but no majors. So
Pac-12 had their media day this past week, and they are discussing a possible 9 a.m. Pacific time games to accustom the mainstream crowd. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'd move it to 10, but no, I think it's a good idea. I know they're whining a little bit in the West Coast. West Coast, they whine about anything. They don't have a clue out there. That's why they're all a bunch of Democrats. But I mean, you're literally losing revenue. People aren't able to watch your games because they're at 10 o'clock Eastern time as a kickoff. I mean, you have to change something up. So I follow these message boards and they're whining. It's too early to tailgate. Well, give me a break. You have to do what's best for the conference. You have to be smart. You have to get the most visibility as possible. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I'd say 10 a.m. 10 a.m. for the first one.
Yeah, it's quite. Yeah, the Pac-12 conference football coaches have been complaining about late start terms as late start times, often seeing games between 7 and 8 p.m. Pacific time that for the East Coast audience can run on TV until as late as 2 a.m. for quite a while. While there's reasons for disliking the late night contests are robust, it appears the Pac-12 might be trying to address their concerns in a unique manner. Commissioner Larry Scott was saying, well, we've discussed it recently. It will be new and out of the box for our conference, but I've tried to put everything on the table. There is a lot of frustration from fans in certain markets to late night kicks. I like to see 1 or 2 games a season that are 12 noon. Kicks beat Pac-12 games and see what markets might respond positively to that. And you're right. I think, when I want to see a Pac-12 game, it's usually at 9 p.m. at Fox. It's something late, so it's not like...
It's ridiculous.
It is. And the games end at 12, and like the next day I got to go to church, so I can't really see it, so I have to see the recap on ESPN.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, just get a clue, people. I mean, come on. Well, and I think they are. They're realizing it. But I follow these boards and the amount of complaining that goes on. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's kind of hard to talk to West Coasters. They really think they're the woke part of our culture, but unfortunately, they're one of the worst run areas of the U.S. currently. So that's a fact.
How was the Oregon media day?
Good. Mario Cristobal spoke. Justin Herbert and Troy Dye were the representatives. So Oregon's picked to win the Pac-12 North. They're actually not picked to win the Pac-12.
No way.
No, they're not. So they're Utah is.
Utah. I heard about that.
It's close between. It's like Utah, Washington, and Oregon will all be, I think, about preseason top 15, and I think they'll all be in that 10 to 15 range. I think, I'm just as hypothetical, but there's probably the coaches poll and the people are coming out here in the next couple of weeks, and I expect Oregon to land about 11 or 12, and then Utah's probably like 13, and then Washington's probably like 14. So they're all very close. I mean, one of those 3 teams are definitely the favorite.
How do you see Utah?
I mean, they're a good team. Kyle Whittingham's always been a good coach. He's always fielded a good program. They have a good defense. They have some good guys on the D-line. They have one of the best corners in Jalen Johnson, who's probably going to be first-round draft pick next year in the secondary. They have a solid offense. Tyler Huntley has been a 2-year starter. He's back. Zach Moss is one of the best running backs in the Pac-12. He's back. Britton Covey's a big-time all-purpose guy. I know he got hurt at the end of last season. If he's healed up, he's a good guy as pass catcher, do-it-all, punt returner, kick returner. So yeah, they're good. They're a solid team. They're a good team. I know some people say college football playoff dark horse. Thing is, if they did make the college football playoff, I just don't think they have the talent, and they would really get shellacked by like Alabama or
Georgia,
Clemson or Georgia or one of those teams. So I think more than anything, I think they're a good team. I think they win the South, but I don't hope. First of all, I don't hope they win the Pac-12 because it means Oregon doesn't. And then if they, that's about it. But they're a good team. Yep.
The Pac-12 will be moving their title games to Vegas in 2020 to 21. The Pac-12 has agreed in principle to move its football championship game to Las Vegas when the Raiders' new NFL stadium opens in 2020 and remain there for at least 2 years. Conference Commissioner Larry Scott. Although the deal is not yet finalized, it is expected to be completed in the near future. What do you think about that?
Good. Yeah, good move.
No difference. I just want to see a championship game.
That's right.
Anything else before we head out of college football arena?
Well, the fall camp, I think, for everyone starts next Friday. And then it's 29 days before the season begins. So I'm just, obviously that's where every team gets ramped up, starts their, they don't do 2 days anymore, but starts their daily practices. And it's interesting. I know I've obviously follow Oregon, so definitely interested to see some of the position battles. See what guys step up. Like Oregon has some pretty open depth chart at positions like wide receiver, linebacker to a certain extent, so defensive line a little bit. So just to see who steps up in and who ends up being the starters and making the plays this fall.
And we'll be seeing the polls coming out soon, right?
Yeah, I asked you guys to fill out your poll. I haven't gotten any yet.
Yeah, I got to work on that.
I was gonna say Sportscast top 25, and I was gonna do like the composite, whatever.
Yeah.
Added up to.
Quite interesting that we're gonna see a lot of action in the Sportscast this year.
Who do you have? You can tell me. Who do you have as your number one?
As of right now, without studying, it'll probably be Alabama.
Why would you have Alabama when they didn't win the national title last year?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I shouldn't be talking about it. Well, it'll be Clemson then.
You're going to say that. But, what?
Well, then it'll be Clemson.
I mean, I just don't know how you can possibly – I mean, you can do whatever you want. No, if you want to do Alabama, that's fine. I just don't understand how you can put the team that won it last year by a lot, like literally dominated the game, and brings back all the same offensive players that dominated them. I mean, I just
yeah, I know.
Actually, if you're going to ask me to, well, we're going to probably do that in thing. But no, I mean, I actually probably would pick Alabama over Clemson if they played each other, just because I think Clemson lost a lot of pieces on defense. I just don't understand how a preseason poll. But whatever, you can do you. Don't let me change your mind. I just am going to.
Like I said, I have done my research. I should have said Clemson, but I'm so used to seeing Alabama every year that I have to wait.
Have you done any research? So if I asked you what would be a surprise top 10 team, would you have a team? Or
so in the top 10, I would think Oregon.
They're a surprise top 10 for you?
They're in the top 10, yep. Even though you say that they might be in 11.
Okay. I mean, I'm probably going to put them in my top 10, duh. But if I was going to say, do I think they're going to land in the top 10?
What would a person like Brian Feldman put him in?
Would you say?
What would a person like Brian Feldman, is that his name?
Oh, Bruce Feldman?
Bruce Feldman.
I just think when the polls come out, okay, so you're going to have, this is what I'm going to think it's going to be. They're going to have Clemson be number one. They won the title last year. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Ross, Travis Etienne, all those guys are back. So Clemson's going to be number one. Alabama's going to be number two. You got Tua, you got Alabama. They've won, 5 national titles in the last decade. I think number 3 will probably be Georgia because, they have Jake Fromm. They still have one of the most talented rosters in college football. I think probably 4 and 5. Let's think about Ohio State, because Ohio State still has some of the most talent in college football. Oklahoma, with Jalen Hurts and a lot of the pieces they bring back. And they've obviously been to the college football playoffs 3 of the last 4 years and been Big 12 champions 4 years in a row. I think that's a pretty comfortable top 5. It's in the, after that, you kind of don't know. You're probably thinking Michigan because Shea Patterson and who they bring back there. Notre Dame made the college football playoff last year. I could see them getting the top 10 because of that. They bring back enough. You're probably looking at Florida.
The usuals.
Is probably going to be up there. Texas A&M is going to be up there. Who am I missing?
There's a lot of teams that could be squeezed in there.
LSU, because they're still one of the more talented rosters in college football. And then probably Oregon. Yeah, so I'm thinking Oregon probably lands behind those other teams just because, Florida made the New Year's Six Bowl and they won it. Michigan made the New Year's Six Bowl and LSU did. So you're probably normally, if a team made the New Year's Six, made the college football playoff, was a conference champion, played in the conference championship, if they're bringing back enough big pieces like quarterbacks, like key defensive players, you're probably going to give them the benefit of the doubt going into next year. You see what I'm saying? The only way that a team would drop off after having a good year is if they lose literally everyone. Everyone's gone and maybe didn't recruit very well the last couple of years. But all those teams I mentioned bring back a lot of key pieces. I think all those teams pretty much bring back quarterback or inheriting someone like Justin Fields, like Ohio State, who was the number 2 rated quarterback coming out of high school. And I just think that and they've all recruited well. So I think you're looking at those teams probably be at the top. So that's where Oregon probably comes in at like 9-10. But remember last year they didn't win 10 games, and they weren't in a conference title game, and they didn't make a New Year's Six game. So that probably maybe drops them a little lower than the other ones. But I don't know. We'll see. But I think they fall around. I think they fall. Highest they'd be is like 9. The lowest I see them being is like 13. So 9 to 13 is what the preseason ranking, in my opinion.
We'll be doing a lot more talking our college football preview show, the big show, next month. We have to set a date, but we'll definitely keep you guys pumped and ready. We'll do some research, some composite analysis, and see where it goes. Pacquiao defeated Keith Thurman. Thurman in 12 all-action rounds on Saturday at the MGM Grand Garden Arena to capture the WA title in a thrilling split decision. The instant classic saw two judges score the fight, 115 and 112 for Pacquiao, while the third had it at 114 and 113 for Thurman. CBS Sports also calls it 114-113 for Thurman. Pacquiao wins. What are your thoughts about the fight? Is he the greatest?
The greatest what?
No, well, what do you think about the fight? Let me erase that last part. What was I saying?
No. You have to explain. No. Let's address that.
He's not the greatest. Muhammad Ali is the greatest.
You said, is he the greatest what?
Boxer this year.
you did not mean that. Did you mean of all time, Santiago?
No. Right now, currently, is he the best boxer in the world right now? That's what I meant. Not all the time. Right now.
Not even close. Not even close.
Okay.
He's not even top 10. No, he's not even close.
Really?
Vasily Lomachenko is probably 1. You're looking at Terrence Crawford be number 2. You're probably looking at like guy like Errol Spence be number 3. Other guys in top 5 is I don't know how to say his name. Oleksandr Usyk, the Ukrainian cruiserweight. You're looking at possibly Deontay Wilder in there. I would also put I can't think of Mikey Garcia. There's a couple lighter weight guys. There's guys better than him right now. Let's just be honest. If you're talking about is he the best fighter of all time, no.
No, definitely not. I know that. We got a couple
Muhammad
people
Ali,
way ahead of him.
Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Ray Leonard. Okay. Now, if you're saying the best fighter of the last 2 decades of this century, is Manny Pacquiao the best fighter of the 21st century? Maybe. Yeah. He won.
He's in the conversation.
Titles. In my opinion, yeah. I think because he won 8 division titles. I mean, the guy won titles all the way from bantamweight, I believe, I hope I'm not mistaken, all the way up to junior middleweight. He's won more world titles at different weight classes than any boxer in the history of boxing. And he's won them from in his 20s to 30s to now winning it again in his 40s. I think Manny Pacquiao, if you were to say the best fighter of this century so far, since 2000, in my opinion, I would rate him above Floyd. And people are like, oh, that's controversial. You can't do that. Floyd beat him. And it is true. He did beat him. I would probably put Floyd number 2. But the thing is, Floyd didn't fight as long. He didn't win as many weight classes. I think he won 5 or 6 weight classes, but he didn't win as many as Manny. And Floyd did not always fight everyone. He really was very picky and specific about who he chose. He did not at every weight class. He would not necessarily, especially towards the end of his career, when there was better bouts to be made, guys that would have been a much tougher fight. He didn't fight them. He didn't. And as much as Floyd is a great defensive fighter, one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time, and he has a high boxing IQ, I think the stuff like that has to be knocked against him. So if you were to ask me since this century, who's the best fighter, I would say Manny Pacquiao, and I would probably put Floyd second, even though he beat him. And I think he would tend to beat Manny because his style is something that would give a guy like Manny trouble because he's a counter puncher. Manny likes to rush in. Well, Floyd really knows how to step back, land a shot, and move. so he's hard to rush in at. You can't really rush in at him. Hold on a second. So, what are you doing? Sorry, checking on my kid. So yeah.
So what were your thoughts about the Pacquiao and Thurman fight?
It was a very good performance. It was the best that I'd seen, because I'd seen Manny fight over the last 5 years, and he had not looked as good, but he looked very good in that fight. So he looked very good. He fought a very good fight. It was a very good performance by Pacquiao.
Yep, in a very tight decision of all three judges, Pacquiao wins. Obviously, there's rumors of a rematch.
I don't know what that guy, the one who gave it to Thurman, I don't know what the heck he was looking at. I mean, it was not like a blowout, but I had it 116-112, 7 rounds to 4, 1 even, with a 10-8 round for Manny. I don't know how in the world you could give that fight to Thurman. The boxing annoys me like that. It's always been the biggest frustration about boxing is, do you have a judge? It's like the one judge is looking at a different fight. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's been a little bit controversial. Might be a big world, but yeah.
Well, what I think what needs to, I mean, there's not perfect in anything, but I think what needs to be done is there cannot be any bias. If it shows, like, I think they have to have a panel, and they have to only pick a certain amount of judges, and they have to show to not have. I mean, it's hard to see. It's hard to really get to the bottom of it. But people have biases. I do too. If I like a fighter and I see the fight, guarantee you if it's even, he wins.
I agree.
I've done fights before where I'll be the one doing it, and I will judge it, and then I will pick the guy, and he'll win like 7-5, and then the decision will come out and he lost. And then I'll go back and I'll actually look at it a little closer, and I was like, he probably didn't win. But when you see your guy that you're rooting for win, he's gonna win more than likely. So I think they need to make sure that there's no allegiance whatsoever for one guy over the other guy.
There you have it. And, of course, there's been rumors about Pacquiao versus Mayweather, but we'll talk about that later because I got to go soon. Predictions, Yankees at the Red Sox.
Red Sox. Yankees are playing pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting series. No random questions today, but how can people reach you? TurnerCast on Twitter. You can visit us at thesportscast.net or on Twitter at thesportscast1. We're covering everything. We had a live updates with the Open. Of course, we'll have more more tweet updates throughout the college football. Which I'm still wondering, what if Oregon plays at the same time as Alabama? How we're going to cover it on Twitter? We'll find out.
Oh, we have to figure that out because that will get
whoever has the bigger game. Well, actually, we should cover that, the big games, not if Oregon plays Cincinnati, we're not going to cover that.
Well, yeah, they're not going to play Cincinnati, but yeah, or not only that, but I don't think they always they don't overlap really.
Not really, no.
Meaning they usually play at different times.
Yeah,
I know the first game of the season. Alabama and Oregon aren't playing. Alabama's game is at noon, and Oregon's game is 6.
We will be covering Oregon Auburn for sure.
Anyways, yeah, that's a much bigger game. But you could cover both because that week they don't play at the same time.
Exactly.
So I don't think for the most part it'll be that much of an issue.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be crossovers or conflicts. Anyways, Tyler, I appreciate you coming on to the Sportscast.
I do.